Okay, we're going to talk about on today's video how to sell to your customers' neighbors, not your neighbors' customers, with PPC ads. So basically, you have customers or clients right now. Of course, we're assuming you're starting with one and you have not a totally green new business that you're starting off right now. If you have any customers at all, you can use this method, taking the customer data that you have and where they live, and then using the PPC method I'm about to share, sell with the use of the PPC ads that you can run online on millions of different websites, wherever your customers, your customers' neighbors will go to get them to buy because their quote-unquote neighbor or what have you has also bought what you're trying to sell them as well here. So basically speaking, the reason for this particular method that I'm sharing with you today is somebody that has a neighbor that's bought something are about 10 times more likely to buy something that has not had a neighbor who bought and can visually see, something like whether it's a truck outside the business, whether that shows that they're getting something from a certain company, or somebody working physically outside the house. Somebody sees that their neighbor has something going on, and so they're intrigued. Some areas more than others, so people are trying to be nosy Nancy's and see what's going on. But because of the whole theory, keeping up with the Joneses thing that everybody knows and has heard about, you see something that your neighbor does, now I want to do it. So I'm 10 times more likely to buy. Why don't we actually target the people that are around our customers first before we target anybody else, since they're 10 times more likely to buy, as we're likely to be able to generate a 10 times higher return from our PPC campaigns, even though that we won't be able to scale this method to an unlimited kind of standpoint, which actually is this is a lot more scalable than you think, because I'm going to talk about how to use a paid advertising list to push this further and sell to the neighbors of other customers. But respectively, I'm going to show you the method that I use and have used on several occasions and seen it work, and the kind of results we've seen selling to neighbors' customers, using technology out there that'll let you find out how to advertise to somebody, your customer, and directly around them, the people living directly around them, and do so in an automated way once it's already set up, as well as I'm going to cover the type of ads that you need to show to your customers' neighbors to get them to want to buy from you and have it be effective and see these kind of results also for your type of business or a business like it, in which you could use the same concepts here for yourself. So anyway, I'll go through all the method, the technology you use, what kind of results you can expect, how to scale it, all of that stuff will be coming up here shortly in the video. So first of all, I just want to give you a quick background. All the home renovation construction companies out there know the sell to your neighbor strategy using door hangers, yard signs, as well as regular old canvassing. So in other words, if you have a roofing company, these companies out there that do home renovation in some way, like a roofing company, they know that they know what I know. The people around them are like 10 times more likely, which is pretty similar market to market, to buy a roof from them or from anybody who sells a roof in that market that can service that market than anybody else. So, and you're physically, nearby these other people that are likely to buy, so they send out their salespeople or what have you to all the people directly surrounding the place where they're installing the roof, and then they knock and they may talk to them. Maybe they don't have any balls, let's just say, and they leave a little paper in the door saying, please use us and why, because we're doing Nancy's house over there. That's your neighbor. Maybe they put a door hanger on the door because they don't want to talk to them, or if they're not there, a lot of times they'll put the door hanger on the door, right? And so, and then the last thing is the yard sign. So they'll incentivize the customer, maybe just ask to put a yard sign in the yard saying XYZ roofing company installed this roof, so that basically the general premise behind this is, with the yard sign at least, so people know which company it is and they don't have to ask to already know which company it is. So the most common reason someone buys a solar panel in the solar panel market is because the neighbor or neighbors, if there are more than one person in a general area that has a solar panel, it is the reason that they ultimately their neighbor has one. So in other words, and to put this in another way, the most likely thing that gets you to buy a solar panel is seeing your neighbor have a solar panel. Otherwise, you're not nearly as likely, but above everything else, including all the reasons that you would buy a solar panel, obviously somebody's got to have to kick it off to be the first one in the neighborhood to buy, but the thing that gets people to buy more than anything is the fact that the neighbor has it. So if you're selling solar panels, you absolutely should be using this method. And in a lot of markets, it's going to be similar. More than anything that's going to convince them to buy is the fact that someone near them buys that they know and trust, or they envy is the other thing. The more likely the most likely vendor someone uses for this is the one neighbor that already got the item. So especially when they can know without having to ask. So like I said, they're most likely to buy whatever, a lot of product or services out there if their neighbor's using it. That's number one. And then who are they going to use? They're most likely on top of that, most likely to use who the neighbor actually used. And with that, they'll often go out and ask who that person's using before they buy, and they'll come to the conclusion on their own. Or if you put a yard sign in, like I said, then they know maybe they don't like John and they're envious of John having the solar panels. But I still want to use his guy because I still trust what John thinks, and I want to compete with John. I just don't want to talk to John. So that's why the yard sign also helps. But with that, if there's a way to communicate to John's neighbor in that case, which solar panel John used without having to ask John, it's majorly to your advantage. And this method is specifically catering to that. We're going to be able to target people around John so that the people around John will know John got the solar panel. Also, they know which company John used, okay? And also going one step further, what John's comments are about it, which I'll talk about how we use that information on a landing page. So that's what this method is about, explaining that to everyone around John. John uses, he's got a solar panel now. He used XYZ company, and then we can use that to get in front of a person that doesn't want to talk to John. Sometimes they'll just talk to John, but the other people who can't talk to John, this is what this method is about, running actual PPC ads or banner or display ads, if you want to call that. The other reason why we're going to use PPC ads or display ads as well, instead of just relying on the door hangers and stuff you can physically do around John's neighbors there, is you can leverage and automate the process, the effect, the opportunities you will have being able to market to someone's neighbors of your customers. So we can, in every case, you can only knock on the door probably once without seeming like a creeper. If they're not home, okay, now you only got the door hanger. Well, it's a hell of a lot more effective if you could talk to the person. Any good salesperson will tell you that. But with you should definitely still do that in a lot of cases if you can, or if you're in a market where it makes sense. Some you can't. But the banner ads, just like with any remarketing banner ads that follow people around after they've been to your site, that you've paid good money to get them to your site, and unlike what email can do, an email, you only have a chance to see it once. The banner ads can show up again and again and again, virtually guaranteeing your target that you're trying to have see the ad and get the message will see the message. It costs literally a penny to have an ad show up for somebody one time. And so if you want 100 people around your customer, their neighbors, in other words, to see your ads. It literally only costs $1 to have that ad show up 100 times to that person, virtually, again, guaranteeing that they see it. And it doesn't matter, effectively what site they're on, because most sites out there have banner ads, and it doesn't matter if you're on CNN.com or, on Facebook, through the advertising, PPC and display advertising networks out there, you can get it in front of them no matter what site they frequent, and therefore be able to guarantee get your message in front of that person. So you can leverage the fact that you're going to get a lot higher penetration to make sure the person or people around your customers know for a fact the neighbor got it, why they got it, what they're using, more so than hoping and wishing just with the door knock alone. And you can automate the process once it's set up. Once you get a customer, you can do a couple of clicks, and then automatically this runs for all the people around your next customer as well. And so once the hard part is setting it up, not really hard, but most of the work is in setting it up. Then when you have a new customer, it's just barely any work, and you have automatic, of course, once you know how it works the first few times, you have automatic revenue you can count on from the advertising you do around your customer's location every time you start to do it now. So anyway, I have some examples of where this has been done in other markets to kind of show you what's possible with this method. So first of all, though, how you do it, so there's a company out, so you need a company that will allow you to take an address and turn that address into a targeted ad campaign. One company out there that you can Google is Toro, but you're going, basically target physical address with display ads. And you'll find other companies out there that do it. But when you find one, then what you're going to do is you're going to tell that company, Toro or whoever, that you want to target roughly 100 people, just to keep it simple, 100 people around the people that live at that address. They may be able to help you out with that. You may, in some occasions, you may actually have to do a little bit of data entry and find the 100 people around that person, and then give them the list of 100 addresses and say, hey, I need to physically target with my banner ads these 100 addresses, okay? So, but with that said, this works for a whole bunch of stuff. Just like, with the door knocking will work. Anything, by the way, that works through the door knocking for the neighbors, the PPC ads will take it to the next level. Every time, basically, okay? Water softeners. We did this for water softeners. For every 100 people, or so let's just say for every 1,000 people that we had that were basically in the hopper to do this, so that would be 10 customers, because each customer would only have 100 opportunities around them the way that we set it up. 5.4 customers came from that. A water softener, so they sold water softeners, reverse osmosis systems, distillation systems. So basically it was more than water softeners, but with that, it's something with regular service that you're going to consistently see the company pull up in the van or whatever, and that's a crucial element that gets these door knocking campaigns to work, is that the person has to have it really take effect, seen physically somebody in the neighborhood with a truck coming through. So they're wondering, like, I wonder who does that. Or they'll see it parked at Jane's house and they'll wonder what the heck they're doing there, what they get. And so if it's something like, you're doing, I'm trying to think of a better example. We sold funeral planning. Funeral planning, and if that person was coming in a nondescript car and they were buying, and then you're selling to the neighbors, you don't have the effect of that person seeing somebody with a branded car wrap or something come in, which adds a critical piece to this whole puzzle that gets it to work. Hopefully you follow that. But the other thing is, we did this. I mentioned solar panels already. I was mentioning up here, the more neighbors there are, the more likely they're going to buy. So the most common thing that gets somebody to buy a solar panel is the fact someone in their neighborhood bought a solar panel. But that doesn't stop there. The more neighbors you have with a solar panel nearby, the more and more likely it gets that they're going to buy. So if you're in a neighborhood where like 10 people have a solar panel, that's going to be effectively, 5 to 10 times more effective yet than one person who has a solar panel. And so that's something else you can keep in mind. Respectively, if it doesn't work in one area, perhaps you just do the system for anybody who has more than one person in the area that has a solar panel already. Or certain neighborhoods which you block out that have several solar panels. If you get into paid advertising lists, I would recommend any area that's highly saturated with solar panels and to do this in and itself. But anyway, for that, out of 1,000 people, 3.8 customers. Next, and I'm going to give you ad examples that we ran for these different types of offers so you know how to replicate this yourself. The next is rental. So think like Rent-A-Center. This was an off-brand with a few different locations. They rent, couches by the month and computers and all that stuff for the house. The truck has to pull up to deliver the stuff. And what happens a lot of times with that is they'll buy stuff, they'll return it, they'll get something else. They're commonly in the neighborhood. And so like I said before, it's something you can physically see. So it doesn't have to be the truck itself. Maybe it's the solar panel that they see. But there's got to be a little bit of greed and envy as a part of this equation to have it work well, as I've found. But for that, out of 1,000 customers, there was 9.9 customers on average. Every time 1,000 of these people were put in the hopper to be advertised in such a way. The next one is lawn care and landscaping. So a company did both. You're advertising to anybody who's got the service. It's just another, I'm repeating myself now, but again, it's, you see that truck pull up every week for the lawn care specifically. And for the landscaping, it's not quite every week, but you get my point. It's regular. And with that, there's a little bit of envy that John has this, and I wonder what it really costs, and You give them now what you're trying to do is just really rub their nose in it. Say, John got it, he's so happy, and this is a really prestigious service, and only prestigious people get it. If you can, what they call, get their, Dan Kennedy, the most famous copywriter out there nowadays, had said you want to get their greed glands going. Get that person so envious and greedy for what you're selling that they just, price is irrelevant at that point. But anyway, we did it for that. Out of 1,000 customers, 7.2 average sales. So it's obviously not going to be its campaign in and itself, at least if you're working with your own customer list here. But it's added revenue that's going to come out of super, super high ROI, which is, even though it's not that many customers, it's a lot of ROI because it only costs like $1 respectively to have a market to one person, okay? So if you're going to market it to 100 people, it's only $100 to run that ad campaign for 100 people directly around your customer, okay? So it might be a $10 acquisition cost. And that's a heck of a lot cheaper than even Google search ads and a lot of other stuff that you may do, direct mail, so on and so forth. The last one on the list is a car leasing company, a luxury car leasing company. So we're talking about like Mercedes here. Somebody has leased a Mercedes, you have their customer address on file, now you're going to market to people around them. This is something that people obviously commonly get envious about, and people try to keep up with the Joneses for. One thing you'll find is, though, conversion rates are, the higher the price point, the less your conversion rate is going to be on your campaign. And it goes for any kind of campaign that you're running. In this particular case, yes, because it's a high purchase amount, with that, you're gonna, it's $500 a month for the next 2 years, and it's not like somebody couldn't just go to the dealership already. So anyway, between those kind of two things, as far as I can tell, those are the main things. Out of 1,000, 1.4 customers on average from that. But anyway, I'll get into what kind of ad we use for that, just so that you can understand how this goes. The first ad I'm going to talk about, I have 3 examples here. For the car, we used, roughly speaking, this is the exact language, but your neighbor's got great taste, and then a picture of the car. And then what you're going to do is that ad is, you want the picture of the car in front of a landmark that looks local to your neighborhood, so they know it's an actual local ad. That part's very important if you want these kind of results or better. And with that, you take them to a specialized landing page that talks about your dealership being local. Make sure they know instantly it's local. And then you get into the testimonial or case study, if you want to call it that, of the person who bought the car, why they like it, that kind of stuff. So it's not so much that they care about that stuff, it's just really making it clear as soon as they hit the page that this is something that's done by a local company that they should therefore care about, and it gives them a little bit of, something to think about, talk about, given that their neighbor is doing this, like local, hyper-local news, if you want to just say that. And so they get to that page, okay, they now know XYZ has that car. And every time they see that car from now on, they're going to think of your campaign. And if you keep it running, for the car campaign, you can keep it running for a year. That it'll just slowly keep working on them. So anyway, that's that. The second one was specifically for the solar company, an example I talked about. The ad language on there was, see why residents on Bell Ave, it wasn't Bell Ave, but another street, on Bell Avenue have more solar than anyone. And so it's a good headline a lot of times, piques your interest. It's like, I wonder what they mean. Clickbait is another way to say it, but why Bell Avenue residents have more solar than anyone. So yeah, I want to know why the people that live on my street have so much solar. You're tapping into the whole inquisitive thing, like I said, that maybe I should have this too. I want to know why it's so important. And you're giving them, again, hyper-local news. This is something of value to them, actually, in terms of them not having a lot of time. They're reading CNN.com, saying, well, BS. Now they see this ad that's talking about what's going on in my local neighborhood. You take them to a landing page, and you talk about all the people in the area that has the solar panel, the people and the names and all that. You subsidize the customers to do that. It will help work better if you don't have that, to have the names and the pictures of the customers who have it than not. And then talk about why they bought, why John bought, and then our solar panels are the best ones you could buy because and then that's how you sell it. There's a little more to it than that, but that's just the general gist. The last example here I want to give you is specifically from the water softener example that sells the reverse osmosis systems and so on and so forth. See why Buffalo Grove water is affecting your clothes, dishes, pipes, and health. So goes back, it's kind of, as you can see here, the formula is the same each time. You're making it seem like it's so local, you have to read this. Higher click-through rates mean lower cost per click, lower cost per acquisition. They're all directly related. So with this, you're really piquing someone's interest. They're going to be thinking, holy crap, I never see anything that's local to my area. So they're going to click on that. Then it's just up to you to do this job selling on the landing page. So you'll definitely get them to click with that. And given you can show it to them 100 times to make sure they see it, if they didn't see it the first 10 times. But in this particular case, then you could talk about the local water problems in your actual suburb, the reality, and why and then you again can go into all the people who bought systems and why they bought them, and why your product solves the problems in your little local suburb of what they are, and what you're going to get once you buy this product, all that stuff. So you come up with a long form sales page that has all that information on it. You should have something that will work. So you get the idea. This can be used for a lot of different companies. I gave you the basic main components that get it to work. Again, that's something that people see locally, right? And with that's the main thing there, respectively. You got to have customers already. If you don't have customers already, you can use paid lists. You could take a list of other people's customers. If you go to Nextmark, if you type in Google Nextmark mailing list, you could find addresses of people that are on other people's customer lists. You could, for instance, hijack somebody else's, or they're not hijacking, but if I have a water softener company, I could rent out / sell my customer list to other people that will pay so much per name to also mail that list. Well, on a mailing list site like Nextmark mailing list, you could find a customer list of water softener customers, or somebody else that has a list of people that have bought, and then I can do a similar thing here. marketing to somebody else's customers directly around those customers, right? And you're not going to have nearly the ammo of what, in terms of now knowing what to say to get that person's attention, because you don't have the names of the people who actually bought. Well, should I say, you'll have the address and the name, so you will have the person's name, but it's dicier, right? It's a little bit of a gray hat strategy, saying, okay, you know John Smith bought, you know it's at this address, and you're going to tell people around John Smith that John Smith bought, and I could tell you it works, but you may not want to do that, basically. But so once you get this, in other words, though, working for, and you've tapped out your current customers, you're using it, you can experiment with getting somebody else's customer list through a number of different resources, and then work the same exact method again, explaining that the person in your neighborhood got this, why don't you? So anyway, that's the whole thing in a nutshell. Hope you enjoyed the video. I have a lot of other videos just like this on this channel about making money with PPC. You should check those out if you haven't already. I have a blog at garrettppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions on how to build campaigns just like these. If you prefer to see information like that, you should check that out as well. If you have any questions or comments about this strategy or anything else you think I should have covered, leave me a comment down below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment or question on this channel within a day or two. Hope you enjoyed, and hope this helps you make some money. I'd like to hear from you if you had some success with your campaigns as well.